This ad is xenophobic, this ad is decently racist, but this ad will work in this election cycle.
Google search traffic on RFK Jr. went up 1,200% in the wake of this ad. Welcome to Political Experts React, where we break down political ads and media, explain what the people behind them are trying to accomplish, and decide whether or not they did a good job. I'm Dan Pfeiffer, former communications director for Barack Obama, and joining me today is CNN commentator and a former member of the South Carolina House of Representatives, Bakari Sellers. This episode of Political Experts React is brought to you by ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic, your first drink for a better tomorrow. Bakari Sellers, welcome to Political Experts React. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to be on. I don't know if we're experts or not, but we're going to try our darndest.
The experts is kind of in quotes, so it all depends on how much people get the joke. We're going to look at some ads that are about the issues that are defining the 2024 election. But before we do that, I understand you have a book coming out. Tell me what it's about and when can people buy it?
It's called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We Can All Move Forward Now. You know, we were in this period in 2020 where we thought we were going to make this racial progress. And in fact, I would argue we took steps back. And so basically, I analyzed everything that happened from COVID to George Floyd, looking at a moment I was on CNN that went viral when I broke down after listening to Felonious Floyd, George's brother, and just kind of unraveling many of the parallels we have with the civil rights movement my father went through. It's probably my most deep book. And so I hope everybody goes to pick it up. April 23rd, you can pre-order now anywhere books are sold. The Moment by yours truly, Bakari Sellers.
All right, everyone go pre-order that book. It is absolutely essential. You help authors by ordering the book in advance. It helps it get better placement in bookstores, helps the author get booked on more shows, and so please pre-order it. The topic of your book is also a good segue to the first ad we're going to watch, which is from MAGA Inc., a super PAC supporting Donald Trump.
6 men have been charging that brutal attack caught on camera.
A shocking act of violence.
2 NYPD officers beaten in Times Square.
All of those arrested were released without bail.
Why did these 4 individuals be released on their own recognizance?
The Biden administration is fighting to release as many migrants as quickly as possible.
I'll reverse Trump's detrimental asylum policies. There's no need for us.
Biden administration's reverse to Trump's policy on remain in Mexico.
Joe Biden to stop construction of the border wall.
It's a new day on the southern border. Here we go. The policy that made it easy to kick out migrants is gone.
He inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration, and he immediately reinstated catch and release. And so when they apprehend people, they let them go.
I'll reverse Trump's detrimental asylum policies.
I feel like this ad is like the uncut version of just Republican worldview. What's your take on what they're trying to accomplish? Do you think it's effective? Does it worry you as a Democrat?
Hell yeah. That's a really, really good ad because it's laser focused on one thing, fear. But this is the echo chamber of Republican politics these days. And so I feel like that ad is hitting the base exactly where they want. And for a long period of time, Dan, I think you may agree with me, Democrats, we kind of turned a blind eye to the issue of immigration and crime. And they're very real issues. We just kind of stuck our head in the sand and acted like, voters weren't feeling what voters say they felt. This ad is xenophobic. This ad is decently racist. But this ad will work in this election cycle. This ad is a very good ad. I mean, it takes me back to the Atwater days of Republican politics.
We look at a lot of Republican ads here. Most of the ones from the pro-Trump people are sort of like in the zone of right, but then they over-torque it in some way that doesn't really work. The only mistake, I think, in this ad is, of all the people you could pick to put in your ad, I'm not sure how you get Ted Cruz in there. That's probably a small error in judgment.
Ted Cruz jumped out to me. And also, I'm not sure people know what Trump's asylum policies were. So, I mean, voters will be like, yeah, he reversed Trump's asylum policies. They don't even know what that is, I don't believe.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you're exactly right that for a long time, we'd see these ads just going crime and immigration and be like, these are for the Fox News audience, right? The regular people are not worried about this unless you live on the border. If you're living in Wisconsin or Michigan, you're not worried about the border of Canada per se. But I think that has changed dramatically in the last year. We've seen in polling that the number of Americans who believe the situation at the border is a crisis has gone up steadily. It's now a significant majority, including more than half of Democrats will tell pollsters that it's a crisis. And so Democrats are going to have a response on this. So this actually, I think, is going to be a big issue. And it is the issue upon which Donald Trump has the largest advantage. In the recent NBC News poll, he has a 35-point advantage on border and immigration issues. In a polarized country, that is a gigantic number.
And it's weird because your former boss was referred to as the deporter-in-chief, if I'm not mistaken,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Labels, right or wrong. But to go from that to Donald Trump, where we kind of overcorrected with everything this country does not stand for, to now Joe Biden. And then if you just think about how disingenuous it is to push back against comprehensive immigration reform and actually stall that in the United States Congress and then say the problem isn't fixed. I mean, they are harping on a lack of ideas, intellectual dishonesty, but the ad was damn good.
Very good ad. Democrats can need a response for it. All right, next ad we're going to look at is from the Biden campaign, and it's about abortion.
I'm an OBGYN in Texas and a mother of 3 wonderful children. Having this beautiful, messy, chaotic, but wonderful family, it's the joy of my life. I never thought that I would need an abortion for a planned pregnancy, but I did. 2 years ago, I became pregnant with a baby I desperately wanted. At a routine ultrasound, I learned that the fetus would have a fatal condition and that there was absolutely no chance of survival. In Texas, you are forced to carry that pregnancy, and that is because of Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade. The choice was completely taken away. I was to continue my pregnancy, putting my life at risk. It's every woman's worst nightmare, and it was absolutely unbearable. We need leaders that will protect our rights and not take them away. And that's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
What do you think of this one?
I like it. I like the direct-to-camera. Anytime you can have some direct-to-camera on emotional type issues such as that, I like the pan away to the OBGYN room where the ultrasounds are had, the darkness of it, the contrast of it. The only thing I didn't like was that it was based in Texas. There is this belief that like Texas is a separate place. It's hard to pin stuff on it. You think it's all Greg Abbott and like Ted Cruz. I mean, I wish that the ad was based out of Wisconsin, in the words of the great American poet T-Pain, or one of those other swing states. But the ad was good. That type of ad is demo-based and demo-focused because we know where that ad is going to play well. It's going to play well with college-educated white women, suburban moms, those areas around Milwaukee, those areas around Detroit, those areas around Las Vegas, those areas around Philadelphia that are going to determine the outcome of this election. And I think that's going to be a good ad to penetrate those markets.
Yeah, I think this ad is really good. People are so cynical about politics right now that traditional political ads are having very little impact. Even politician direct-to-camera ads, particularly if the politician is well known, aren't really moving voters, right? It's just the people who like the politician are fine with it. The people who don't like the politician hate it. And the people who haven't made up their mind are pretty skeptical of it. The ads that are having some impact are people impacted by policies direct to camera, right? There was the ad that ran in Kentucky. What I think is interesting about this one is it is taking the issue of abortion and putting it in the context of people who are trying to get medically necessary abortions during planned pregnancies. That is a part of the abortion debate that prior to Dobbs was almost never talked about publicly. It was always in the context of unwanted pregnancies. Your Texas point, I think, is a really good one. But I think the one thing they could have done there is to say what is true in Texas could be true nationally, right? Although I think Dobbs did change that, right? Because now, if you live, particularly in any state that has Republican legislature, has had a Republican governor, you are one election away from an abortion ban in your state. But I think you're exactly right that Texas is unique in a lot of people's minds. And if it's like, I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's not going to happen here. But it could because Republicans did pass a federal ban that looks just like the Texas law. But I think effective ad, I think.
It's an effective ad. I think ads like that are going to go over extremely well. I think that she was the right messenger. As you said, the message was good. And it talks about eliminating all choices. Like every single choice that you could have is eliminated. And they actually integrated a woman into it by mentioning Kamala Harris and having her picture. I think you have to do that because you don't want the abortion debate between, two 78-plus-year-old white men. And integrating Kamala Harris into that is I think, very valuable. Their
ads tend to end with a picture of the president and the vice president, but the fact that the woman who was speaking said her name, I think was notable and important, and I agree, a very smart move. Longtime viewers of this YouTube series know that this was the time in the show when I would beg people to hit subscribe to the Pod Save America YouTube channel. You should still do that. But now we have an official sponsor. And when my producers told me we had an official sponsor, I was skeptical. But then I heard that it was ZBiotics. What is ZBiotics? ZBiotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break that byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you will feel your best tomorrow. I promise you. Go to zbiotics.com/experts to get 15% off your first order when you use experts at checkout. ZBiotics is back with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Thanks to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode. All right, the last ad we're going to watch is from a super PAC supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do?
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
American Values 2024 is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Now, I should note this ad ran during the Super Bowl at the cost of $7 million for that spot. What do you think?
Nostalgia. I know afterwards he pissed off his entire family and then apologized for it and said he had no coordination, but also pinned it to his profile so that every time you go to his profile, you see it after he apologized for offending his family. Joe Biden's biggest problem in 2024 is not going to be Donald Trump. Joe Biden's biggest problem is going to be Jill Stein, Robert Kennedy, and Cornel West, period. The Kennedy thing is catchy, right? And I think that any positive movement he gets is a blow to the president of the United States and his reelect. And so I think the Biden campaign has to watch it. I don't know if the ad is by far the third best ad that we've watched out of the three. It's nowhere near the top two. I expect that from Robert F. Kennedy because let's just say that apple fell far from the tree and rolled off the orchard. But I will see what happens. If he can have $7 million to spend on a Super Bowl ad, the rest of his money has to be long and deep too.
Yeah, this ad was paid for in part by a $4 million donation from a former Google attorney who was supporting the Super PAC, as the New York Times and a couple other people reported. You have to sort of think of this ad in the experience of watching the Super Bowl, which is how I had it. I was at a Super Bowl party with a whole bunch of people, half of whom cared about the game and half of whom cared about commercials. They're probably almost certainly all Biden voters, but they're not super engaged in politics. And many of them found out that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was running for president for the first time during this ad. But Google search traffic on RFK Jr. went up 1,200% in the wake of this ad. It raised his name recognition. And the fact that no one knew it was coming was, I think, a pretty clever move. It was a surprise for everyone in politics. It got a lot of attention.
When there are 132 million people watching this, that might have been $7 million well spent. Now, he's not going to make up 20 points on Joe Biden or Donald Trump, but he's going to do enough to be a spoiler.
Most people don't even watch commercials anymore, right? They're on their phone, they're skipping it, they're fast forwarding through them. But this is the one time in the entire year where commercials are appointment viewing. So it probably was a good use of money.
I can't think of a better ad he could have run. Like, can you think of something better for Robert F. Kennedy?
It's
Kennedy is what the ad says. Yeah. All right, so we have another Kennedy.
Ultimately, as you point out, this is going to come down to where he gets on the ballot, right? If he's on the ballot in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, there's reason to worry. If he's on this ballot nowhere or in non-competitive states, less so. But this will probably help him get on the ballot by raising his name ID and helping him raise some money to pay for getting that ballot access. Bakari Sellers, thank you for joining us on Political Experts React. Everyone go out and get Bakari's book, and we'll talk to you again soon.
The moment, April 23rd, pre-order it today. Thank you so much, guys. I enjoy your show.
Thanks for watching these ads and videos with us. If you have anything you'd like us to break down, let us know in the comments. See you all next time.